Let's get into the Big Ten SEC meetings in New Orleans, as all the athletic directors are down there this week, including Nebraska's Troy Dannon, commissioners Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti from the two respected conferences are, running these things. And it's clear that this is an unofficial alliance that these two leagues know that if they work together, they will control everything.
Wonderful.
And here's the thing. They want guaranteed playoff spots.
4.
Because then if they get 4 per league, that will allow them to schedule at their heart's desire. And what does that allow you to do? Get more games for television during the regular season that bring in bigger ratings and more money.
And then you can pay the players more and you can further distance yourself from the pack. There's a couple of things that come to mind for me. And I know Sean's reaction is pretty predictable, but please just listen. Don't you have any kind of problem with a system where you artificially award bids before a season's played? Doesn't that strike you as, I know what you're going to say, Sean. Well, they're going to get them anyway. Maybe. It's just odd to me that we set this system before a season. We're saying they're going to get 4 bids before we even know they deserve
more an NFL model. And this is almost more like Major League Baseball, where the Yankees and the Dodgers kind of distance themselves because they have more money than everybody.
Okay, do you see what I'm saying about the artificial nature of just saying we're going to give you 4 seeds before you earn them?
I do think, though, that that's the reality of what college football has become, where the teams with the most money are the best teams. And therefore, their record might not look as good because they're playing the best competition. And so they might be a more qualified playoff team, but their record might not reflect it. And so I think this is the effort where it's obvious to everyone that the SEC and Big Ten are playing at a different level than everyone else, maybe outside of Notre Dame. And therefore they should be rewarded for, like Sean said, playing a more difficult schedule. And then also from the fan perspective, by scheduling these Big Ten SEC like partnership games, it's better for the fans. You're getting better games. It makes college football more exciting during the regular season when the best teams are playing each other. And so by guaranteeing those playoff spots, you're allowing the opportunity to create a more exciting regular season. And unfortunately, it's going to come at the sacrifice of the have-nots of the college football world.
Wait, hold on.
It's the reality. So
I get what you're saying, but it's it's more exciting for 2 conferences. It's not exciting for the rest of the country.
But look, what's the percentage of the college football fandom from SEC fans and Big Ten fans compared to Mountain West?
Okay.
Or
so
ACC?
A year at this time, what the Big Ten and the SEC were basically threatening to do is break off.
Pretty much. I think this is just a precluder to.
So if they don't get the 4 bids each, they could, and then the whole thing's done.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, are you comfortable with that?
I've lost comfort with everything. It's not my
choice to be comfortable, but it's the reality of what they have.
You can have an opinion with
college football a long time ago.
Are you afraid to have an opinion on it?
Are
you afraid to speak?
My opinion is that they control the cards, and if they do what they want to do, they can do what they want to do. And
I don't have to say I like it.
That's why they would get the 4 bids.
You don't have to like it. I'm just saying that's just what's going to happen.
But
this is what our world is now with college football.
But Clemson, Florida State, Notre Dame, Miami, some of those teams that aren't in this,
right?
They play in stadiums that would comp like the SEC and the Big Ten, and those are the teams you really wonder about because they do at least try to spin at the level of these teams.
And they'll get their shot in the playoff. Like the 8 guaranteed bids will not prevent them from making the playoff if they're at that level of play.
I'll tell you, because the ACC and the Big 12 will get 2 bids each, so half as much as the Big 10 and the SEC. If I were the other 8 leagues, I would get another layer of representation and cut away at the Big 10 and the SEC any way I could. I would not allow Sankey and Petitti to take over the world. I would get, I don't know, attorneys, whatever, experts in TV, and I would not allow it to happen.
They can't draw the ratings, though. They don't have the product to draw the ratings. These 2 leagues, whatever they put on, they had like 66 of the most 70 highest rated games of the year.
Yeah, and let's not act like who's making the decisions. It's the TV networks. Like it's ESPN, it's Fox, it's NBC. Those games, the outlets that are benefiting from these high profile games, they're the ones pushing it, and they have the money behind it.
I'm not okay with them breaking away.
I don't think they will. I think they're each going to get their 4. And I think you're going to see the SEC eventually go to 9. So it's going to be 9 games for the two leagues. And then everybody will play one SEC non-conference game.
Then you get rid of the conference championship games.
I don't know about that because there's so much money involved. But yeah, there is a theory that the conference championship games could be played on Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
and then you move the season up to start at week 0.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't mind that. That part doesn't.
I think we need to start on week 0. Personally, I kind of like an August 24th opener. I don't like to wait until like September 1st.
Mm-hmm. I guess where I come from is I'm not comfortable with a world where Kansas State's all of a sudden just out. They're out.
Well, they'd still get a chance for a bid. There's 2 bids.
They're not out.
I mean, you want the Big 12 to get 4 bids?
No, they're not out in terms of bids, but the money disparity is becoming so significant that they're effectively out. I mean,
they're not going to be able to buy the transfer portal players that you need to win.
No, it's not. I'm not talking about just bids. There's a bigger picture element to it. And I know this isn't unpopular. I take unpopular positions all the time. This is an unpopular position. I like college football. I don't want college football to be the Big Ten and the SEC. Mm-hmm. I think it'd be really haughty for me to sit here in Nebraska because Nebraska's a part of it, which is good. That's great. I cover a team that's part of it. What if I didn't? What if you're Iowa State? Really? I mean, I don't like a college football world where Iowa State is relegated to also ran status. They have a chance, I guess. But not on any kind of equal level at all.
I don't think that's an unpopular opinion at all. I think the majority of college football fans probably feel that way. But again, I think more and more, like myself, are just accepting what the game is now. And it's all about money. It's all about TV ratings. It's all about who can buy the most and pay for the most. And the people that can are going to be rewarded for it. That's just the reality that we have.
Poll on who would you like to see Nebraska play in this SEC series? And naturally, Oklahoma was number 1, Missouri number 2. Those were the top 2. But a lot of Nebraska fans, A&M got very little to no votes. I would say that Texas, LSU, and Alabama were all equal. So there's a lot of desire. Nebraska fans obviously want to see Nebraska play Oklahoma.
I see that.
They want to see Nebraska play Missouri, and to some extent Texas. But in this type of thing, I don't know if there's a lot of financial TV value to put Nebraska versus Texas, because they're going to want to put Texas against Michigan. They're going to put them against Oregon. They're going to put them against Ohio State. Yeah. Nebraska is going to be far down the pecking list of.
You could do Florida. That'd be a fun game.
It would be.
I mean, that's
a lot of them would be.
The potential matchups are limitless. About
Ole Miss. Great.
There's all sorts of teams
Ole Miss would be amazing.
Don't get me wrong. This is a great world if you're in the Big Ten and the SEC.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you have a seat at the table, you're doing just fine.
Right.
If you're K-State or Iowa State or whatever, you're worrying.
Yeah, so there's a lot there. And this will and look, Nebraska plays Tennessee in 26 and 27. That's not going away. Troy Dannon has said that's a part of the plan right now. So I would imagine Tennessee wouldn't be ever a game Nebraska would see on a SEC Big Ten partnership for a long time because they had just recently played. But there's a lot of possibilities. The only real snag though is there's 18 Big Ten teams. There's 16 SEC teams. So you're going to have naturally 2 teams that wouldn't get a game.
Matt Rule talked about it, and he talked about with Josh Pate of CBS Sports. Rule is in favor of a 40 to 50 team college football.
Yeah, I think that's inevitable at this point.
Yeah, I do too. That really doesn't bother me
because again, these 2 power conferences are playing a different game right now. And so, why is it fair to the teams that cannot compete financially to have to go head-to-head with them? Let the haves do their own thing and let everybody else just kind of continue doing what they're doing.
Then you have outliers like SMU and Texas Tech who are just
on the border,
oil moneying their way into it. They have so much money.
True.
It's true.
They shouldn't. It's almost like you go to the real fancy party and you see the redneck guys roll in. How these guys
hit the lottery?
I mean, you're wait a minute. How did these guys get in with Michigan and in the fancy schmancy schools? And all of a sudden, Texas Tech and SMU's an elite school, but but their money can get them in. You know, so that if that ever gets to that, that will be interesting to see how those teams do it, because
what's the cutoff is what you're getting at. Like when rule says 40 to 50, okay, now it's easy to say that.
BYU's in that
but
group probably too.
Where's the cutoff? Who's getting left out? Who's getting left out of that picture?
Like imagine in Iowa, the battle about Iowa State.
Right, exactly. Who's getting left out? That's the question. Is Utah getting left out? You know, who's getting left
like
out?
Colorado.
That's why the old initial theory of relegation, like the Premier League,
right?
Like the teams that want to invest and win and somehow turn it around, they can
Could
get
never
rewarded
happen,
by
though.
playing their way up.
Relegation's a fascinating term.
I
You know
know.
who brought that up? I don't think he'd mind me saying it. It was after Big Ten Media Days. Frost got off the podium, had a big chaw in, whipped his chaw out. And we were talking about this subject, he and a couple reporters, and he mentioned the relegation.
Yeah.
He said, this is what's going to come down to. So there's going to be 40 to 50 teams, and you maybe can play your way into it. You know, that sort of thing.
I just think when you talk about these state universities, though, you're talking about state lawmakers, elected board of region officials. It's not as simple as let's kick out the bad teams. I mean, you have state political pieces to all of these places, and in some cases, religious pieces like BYU and Notre Dame. And
that's why it's not as easy as saying, well, I think we need a 40 to 50 team. You know, we just got to separate the 40 to 50. Okay, good luck with that. See what that cutoff
think about
looks
Congress
like.
and Senate, all those people that would be tied to those schools representing. It would get down to Washington. Like it would get ugly.
It would, because who are you cutting out of that pie? Who's getting cut?
Because it would have a financial impact on those states.
Yeah.
So it already will. But anyway, let's
that's a great topic.